towards our next session, the influence of a good teacher can never be erased, and that is very much true for our next eminent speaker. Before proceeding, I am obliged to give brief introduction to our next eminent speaker, Dr. Vandana Patravale ma'am. Dr. Vandana B. Patravale is currently a professor of pharmaceutics at the Institute of Chemical Technology, Mumbai, India. She has around 30 years of teaching and research experience. She has over 200 refereed publications with over 8,227 citations, H-index 46, I-10 index 111, 17 granted patents, 22 patents in pipeline, and 2 trademark registries. She has published 2 books and 25 book chapters with international publishers. Dr. Patravale has been active in teaching, research, and service throughout her career. Her areas of research include development of nanocarriers with a major emphasis on infectious diseases, cancer, and neurodegenerative disorders, medical device development, nanodiagnostics, and nanovaccines. She has awarded a fellowship of Indian Chemical Society 2020, Kukreja Oration Award 2020, APTI's Dr. Manjushri Pal Best Pharmaceutical Scientist Award 2019, Shri Amrut Modi Distinguished Researcher Award 2018, OPPI Women Scientist Award 2015, Bill Melinda Gates Grant Award 2015, Best Pharmaceutical Scientist Award 2014, Vasvik Award 2013, Veneto Nanotech Award 2013, APTI Best Teacher Award 2012, Fellowship of Maharashtra Academy of Science 2011, and K.H. Garda Distinguished Researcher Award 2009. She is a Vice President, CRS Indian Chapter, Editorial Board Member, DTTR, Editor, CRS IC, and APTI Women Foreign Newsletter. She is actively collaborating with researchers as well as industries within country and abroad, and has completed Indo-Swiss, Indo-Japan, Indo-UK projects. She is executing all major grants from Indian government focusing on product development. She has transferred about 20 technologies to industry, including drug-eluting stents being marketed in more than 65 countries. Now I kindly request Dr. Vandana Patravale, Professor, Institute of Chemical Technology, Mumbai, India, to deliver a talk on strategies for effective research grant writing. We are all eagerly waiting to hear you, ma'am. Over to you.
Thank you, dear madam. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. You can host now. You are host now. You can share your screen.
Thanks to Professor Chaudhary for giving me this opportunity to share some thoughts on strategies for effective research grant writing. And thanks also to the coordinators, Dr. Chopre sir, as well as all the organizers of Modern College of Pharmacy. Can you confirm, is my slide visible?
It is visible. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So yes, here we are. I'll be talking on strategies for effective research grant writing. And this is our institute, Institute of Chemical Technology, which now has 2 additional campuses. So this was in Matunga, where we are placed, but we do have 2 new ones, one in Orissa, Bhubaneswar, and another one in Jalna. So talking about research grants, first thing is one needs to identify what is their field of research, whether their research agenda is to generate proof of concept or it is something else. If it is proof of concept, the budget has to be placed accordingly. And if it is some advanced agenda where already proof of concept has been established, budget is no limit. Also, one needs to keep in mind what is the expected tenure for this particular research grant which you are writing. So you cannot go overboard. If the work is only of 4 to 8 months, you cannot ask budget for 3 years. As also, one needs to think on whether there is need for collaboration. And this collaboration either can be within the institute or it could be with institutes of repute all through India. And in some cases, when there are international projects, obviously you also need to identify your collaborators from global community. So once you have identified this particular field of research, then you start in a very, very systematic manner. Now, for example, if I was to work, say, on cancer, that's a very, very wide spectrum topic. You need to arrive at research hypothesis which needs to be new. So obviously, one will have to do literature survey, and that literature survey would be not only from research articles, but one thing which often people forget is patent search. Once you have done that, you are coming to a specific topic. Now, suppose from cancer, you've selected, say, breast cancer. Now, is it that breast cancer has no therapy? Right now, drugs are being given as intravenous infusions. There are drugs like tamoxifen, which is also given by oral route. Of course, in many cases, surgery is the option. So having said that, what is it, what would be new in this particular field? So then you go in depth, understand what is the pathophysiology of the disease, understand where there is unmet need, and then come out with your own hypothesis. For example, when we initiated work in this area, we thought we can work, people are working on liposomal delivery, let's work on solid lipid nanoparticles and nanostructured lipid carriers, because liposomes had obvious disadvantages in terms of leakage of drug, in terms of its stability, and especially if you have to give something by oral route, liposomes were no good. Now, of course, there are techniques of making them stabilized too. But when we initiated work in this area, we realized that we can use lipidic system, which has been our core area, but use it to create our own hypothesis, which can target the sentinel lymph node. Now, why sentinel lymph node? Because in case of breast cancer, you'll see that typically mortality rate is higher because of metastasis. So if you need to prevent that metastasis, what you need to do is target the drug. And where will you target the drug? Typically, it's lymph angiogenesis happens. That means newer blood vessels, newer lymph vessels are getting formed, because of which the mets, they get passed on to kidney, brain, liver, all the organs, and therefore there is an issue. So if we can identify the lymph node which is very near to the breast tumor and direct our therapy towards that lymph node, that would be the unmet need. So that then becomes your research hypothesis can I make NLCs which will be directed towards sentinel lymph nodes for effective treatment of breast cancer. So having done that, then you start looking at what do you have available with you. Please keep in mind, it's not that always you have to use high funda infrastructure to do these products. All I needed to do to prove this particular concept was use Beaker technology. As you know, on one side, you do have high pressure homogenizers, which can give you nano size. But do not forget, there is another technology, which is bottom up technology. That means what we did is we used microemulsion template technique. And what are microemulsions? They are nothing but oil, surfactant, co-surfactants. When they are mixed with water, they'll form microemulsions, which are nano size. So this particular system is thermodynamically stable system. So if I was to put solid lipid in this particular microemulsion, maybe I would need little higher temperatures. But eventually, when I'm diluting it, it is giving me NLCs. So simple system. I have now solid lipid, liquid lipid, solid, and co-surfactant. What is required on a large scale? Only a stirred tank. So look at what resources industry has, because final aim of yours should be that whatever you are doing reaches the end user. And end user in this case is patients. So how will it reach patients if it doesn't reach industry? So look at what resources you have and what you don't have. So though, of course, I'm using now simple technique wherein I'm diluting MEs to get NLCs, please keep in mind, I need to characterize at each stage. So for characterization, obviously, I will need zeta sizer or any other suitable particle size analyzer. It could be Beckman, it could be Hoshiba, anyone. So that is something which you probably would ask if you do not have that in-house. Accordingly, decide how many manpower do you want to execute this particular project. For example, recently there is a SERB grant which we have got. It is multi-institutional. That means ICT, Bharati Vidyapeeth College of Pharmacy, Navi Mumbai, Mumbai Veterinary College, known as Bombay Veterinary still, Bombay Veterinary College, and then there is an industry involved, which is IVRI at Bangalore. So if it is, IVRI is also an institute, but they have permission to scale up and put products in market too. So if that is the case, can I ask for 4 manpower for a project which we have written on foot and mouth disease? What is the scope of the project? I'm now going to make a vaccine which is given by nasal route. It is polymeric nanoparticles given by nasal route, which will avoid all the cold chain transport currently which is prevalent for disease like foot and mouth disease. So if that is the case, can each of us ask one manpower each? No. What we have done is, between 3 institutes which are in Mumbai, we have asked only for 1 manpower, 1 research associate or 1 senior research fellow. And we've given 1 to IVRI because the location is different. So likewise, you need to judge what project demands, whether it demands 2, 3, or it demands only 1 manpower. So don't again, do mistake there, because if you calculate, I'm sure those of you who are writing grants would know that major chunk of the money would be going in manpower. And of course, the infrastructure, if you are trying to get in some equipments, instruments, that is another major part. But one can curtail on manpower. Then another important thing is devise time-based goals. And this is very, very important. Right in the beginning, you should be able to make PERT chart. PERT chart is nothing but where you are dividing your, say, 3-year duration into 6 monthly intervals. And then you are showing what activity you will do in first 6 months, what you will do in the next 6 months, and so on. Please keep in mind, they could be overlapping activities. So it's quite possible that when I'm procuring the equipment, when I'm procuring the raw material, etc., I start with my pre-formulation. It's also possible that within 6 months, I have my formulation ready. So I put it for stability and simultaneously start my animal studies. So likewise, you need to devote a lot of time on justifying what time you will use for each of the activity. And of course, not to forget, if you have done all this very well, your homework is done very well, you would be able to say at the end of these 3 years, what would be my projected outcomes? This is another thing. When I'm sitting as evaluator on the other side, I have seen people have 10 objectives, and those 10 objectives have to be met in 3 years. Please keep in mind, dear delegates, all the government authorities want is you do small amount of work, but do it in a timely manner. It shouldn't happen that you've written 10 objectives, but at the end of 3 years, you are telling them that I could finish only 3. We also have to keep extra time. Believe me, extra time. Mark those words. For any unforeseen circumstances, just like COVID. So typically, when I design a project, I keep at least 30% extra time in hand. You never know when some equipment will be out of order, when UV lamp will go, when your HPLC column has to be ordered and you've not kept the inventory, you may go wrong there. Auto sampler may stop working. Anything can happen. So for any kind of unforeseen circumstances, keep that 20 to 30% of extra time with you. So keeping that in mind, please design the objectives. This lecture, I'm sure most of you would have heard when APTI arranged it during lockdown last year, but just I'll brush it. How do you find prospective grants? You know, you have project, you've written down. What we do in our lab, we keep projects ready. It is not that after the grant comes, we start writing, hurrying up. Whenever we have good ideas, we start and keep the project ready. It's only the headings which will change depending on the funding agency. Most of the crux remains same. So yes, you would look at what fundings are available. Now fundings could be national, and more often people forget to look at international funding opportunities. And I'm here, one person telling you that transparent procedures are followed in international funding. So don't feel inhibited to apply to international authorities too. Of course, our national bodies, if you now see, globally, India is doing very well because last 10 years have seen excellent support being given to R&D activities. And government is doing their best to pump in money in academia, but only to those who can deliver. Their mandate is deliverables. So if you are able to execute one project very well, next definitely will come through. So talking about national funding agencies, these are some of the funding agencies. And what you need to do is keep a watch on whatever projects are flashing on these sites. So be it Department of Science and Technology or Department of Biotechnology. It could be Atomic Energy Regulatory Board, or it could be Agricultural Research Council. All these, keep in mind, our pharmacy comes under life sciences. So some people always have a doubt. I'm not doing any biotech related work. Can I apply it to DPD? Answer is yes. Finally, if you go and look at DBT website, they have given thrust areas. And one of the thrust area is health sciences. So you are obviously falling under Department of Biotechnology too. Another thing which you will get from their website is they have given list of authorities and institutes whom you can approach. So for example, if you do not have a cell culture lab of your own, you can go through that list and identify where you would want to test your formulation or test, if you're working in chemistry, APIs. So that list is there on the home page of Department of Biotechnology. I really do not know how many of you have taken advantage of that. Similarly, you do have Government of India's, as I said, Atomic Energy Regulatory Board. People often do not apply to BRNS. And that is one agency where all you have to do is identify a partner from a BARC or BRC affiliated institute. And they are all across India. Now, for example, right now, my student has gone to INMAS, which is in Delhi, to work on radio labeling of drug, which in turn would be put in a nano carrier. And again, we are working on nose to brain delivery. And that is for treating a condition called as glioblastoma, where mortality rate is very high and drug does not reach in sufficient amount. If you give drug by IV route, all the side effects of those drugs would be seen. So what we have postulated, we can administer it through nose so that it is taken up by axonal pathway, also by trigeminal nerve pathway, and reaches brain in higher amounts. So obviously, we need to see whether the nasal cilia, which is there, that gets affected or not. So it shouldn't happen that it is reaching brain, but your nasal cavity is gone. You don't have any sense of smell. So for that, we are doing all the studies at INMAS. What I wanted to tell you is all you have to do is identify one partner from such institutes. Now that partner, when you're writing a funding, doesn't get anything. They don't get any grant. They don't get any manpower. All they will get is some small travel. But you are the one who's a beneficiary. So typically, if you write 15 to 18 lakhs, it's easy to come. So do not forget to write. Another authority where we often don't, and in fact, Pune people should write to DRDO because you can actually identify who could be your partners. Obviously, the project has to be such which benefits defense, because DRDO, as you know, is Defense Research and Development Organization. It's Ministry of Defense. So you need to look at something which will be useful to them. So can we say, if you're working in, say, cosmetics, can you design sunscreens with very high SPF so that those people who are on Rajasthan borders can apply it and be protected because they are out most of the time? Or can it be that you can prepare, say, wristbands which are impregnated with volatile oils? Those of you who are working in cognosy can identify those oils which can keep these people, army people, away from insects. So n number of projects are possible there. Believe me, n number of projects are possible. It's only that you need to apply your mind and think. So likewise, even Department of Chemicals and Petrochemicals, there are n number of grants. I would be again sharing this PowerPoint presentation. There, what I have done is given you the funding agency, and along with it, I have given which is the website which you need to actually refer. So it's directly the hyperlink. So all you have to do is just click and understand what are their norms. So I'll not spend much time on this. So you do have many other funding agencies, including ICMR. And many times, people who come to me that they want to do PhD. And earlier, ICT had a blanket permission. We used to get 12 to 15 seats per year from UGC. Now, UGC has stopped that. Because ICT has gone under deemed university. Now, again, of course, we are category 1 institute. So everything is flowing in. But to all the deemed university, they asked that you have to satisfy and get registered under section 12B. So if that is the case and students come to you, and those students, they are so full of ideas, so full of life, so dynamic that you cannot say no to them. All you can do is guide them and guide them to write ICMR projects. So here, already if you have some proof of concept, you can say that I'll do preclinical. If you have proof of concept till preclinical, you can also actually, with help of certain hospital setups, now that PharmD is there in so many institutes, you can easily tie up with those hospitals and say that I'll do clinical research. So write a project which can get fructify, and obviously if clinical results are good, any industry will come forward and take it from you. Talking about international funding agencies, again, there is plethora of funding agencies. So it could be UK, India, Education and Research Initiative. Here, we had the fortune of having this particular project, between 3 people from ICT and 2 people from University of Bradford, where Dr. An Paradkar is working. So he himself, along with his dean, was our partner. So what you have to do is mutually decide what work you can do in UK, and they need to decide what work the students who are employed on this particular project would do in India. So what did we do? Our project, my project, was focused on simple technology. Can I make, using hot melt extruder, a platform technology which can be helped to solubilize any kind of nutraceutical? And we were successful in doing that. Now, nutraceutical is a big market. So anyone comes to me, I'm not given exclusive right to any company. So I give them a portion. Okay, you come for this particular drug. Now, suppose I'm doing, say, curcumin. And I've given that right to that company only for curcumin. But that same platform cannot be used by that company for any other product. People come to me, say, for other moieties. It could be resveratrol, could be anything. What do you? Here we did R&D level work. In UK, we did optimization and validation using PAT technique. PAT stands for Process Analytical Tools. So they have inbuilt probes which can sense and record XRD spectra when HME is being done. So then you know at what stage, in fact, your moiety has interacted with whatever co-former to give you amorphous product. What interest UK people had? No, you will say that yes, you could do so much. You've done scale up. What did they do? We have in-house supercritical extractor, which we have modified to make microparticles and nanoparticles. So they were interested in that technology. So their student come and work on that technology. So what we get is know-how of scale up. What they get is know-how of how to operate supercritical fluid extractor cum particle generator. So likewise, there has to be a mutual benefit. And obviously what resulted from that? In terms of publication, answer is yes. In terms of patent, answer is yes. Did the technology get commercialized? Answer is yes. So all are the benefits. Same way you have India US Science and Technology Forum. So you can identify someone from US. CEFI Prize for France. I should mention DAD, which is from Germany. And in fact, you will be surprised that DAD comes up and gives n number of grants. It's a German academic exchange service. How many students do you think it must be supporting? You'll be stunned. 1 lakh student per year. All they have to do is have basic understanding of German as a language. And obviously, recommendations go a long way. Identifying collaborator is one very, very important thing which needs to be kept in mind too. If I talk about Wellcome Trust, you can see here the right corner, Wellcome. This is a 4-year PhD studentship, applicable in UK as well as in Ireland. It supports to the tune of 80,000, mark these words, 80,000 pounds for 4 years. And what is the modus operandi? Interviews. So obviously, in interviews, they don't only judge you for your basic knowledge, they would also judge you for, can you represent your country? Because majorly, all these grants are cultural exchange programs. Okay, so one should give in positives to those countries and get the positives back from those countries. That is a motto. So this is now the list of funding agencies. All that I had mentioned earlier and few more have been listed along with the websites. You can go through each one of them. I would like to mention one particular on which my student went, which is Alexander von Humboldt Foundation. So after completing PhD, even teachers can apply for that. Even after completing PhD, if you want to pursue postdoctoral fellowship, you again need to identify your collaborator. Give them SOP basically as to what would you like to do when you go to Germany. Humboldt Foundation is for Germany. And if they are satisfied that you are bringing in value to their research team, they will gladly accept you. So on India side, you are applying. From Germany side, they would apply. Both the governments definitely would evaluate the proposal and it can come through. What advantage do you get? It is not one-time advantage that you got chance to do PDF. Keep in mind these fellows, Humboldt fellows as they are known, they meet every year. So can you imagine their network? How much they will grow? Now, just because, as she read, we completed Indo-Swiss. Till date, Indo-Swiss project we completed long back, but till date, any program Swiss Embassy conducts here in India, I'm getting invitation. Same way, Indians are getting invitation in Switzerland, and even Swiss authorities are getting invitations. So this invitations are means of networking and discussing ideas and taking your ideas to the next level. So these forums give you ample opportunity to interact with people. Only thing is you should take advantage, open up. Those who are shy, it's time that they open up. At least if you cannot talk, at least write well so that you can communicate what is in your mind. And yes, we were very happy to even get Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And why am I putting so many grants? As I said, it's very easy. Their procedures of application are very, very easy. All Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation needs from you is a pre-proposal. And that pre-proposal is one abstract. How much time does it take to write one abstract? Hardly any, half an hour. But yes, you have to have out-of-box idea. And mandate in case of Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation is that it should benefit masses. So work on ideas which can benefit masses. These are few more, and obviously you can go through all of this. You'll be stunned that we have more international proposal and joint proposals than national ones. Now coming to main topic, because Professor Chaudhary told me that you touch upon research grants, I had to, but this is our main topic and the time is 12:22. Okay. So what? You need to definitely be specific. It cannot be open-ended question which you are writing. So that means your hypothesis has to be very, very specific. So as I mentioned earlier, if you write that I would be devising a formulation for cancer, is absolutely a no. But if you say that I would be delivering siRNA for HER2 specific breast cancer using lipid nanocarrier, is what is specific. So from this particular objective itself, or from title itself, they should be able to gauge what is in your mind. And typically, the key search would be done then and there by the reviewers to judge whether your idea is novel or it is not. Identify collaborators. Though I have written it optional here, I prefer to have collaborators. You cannot be boss of everything. So it's always good to have collaborators. Other reason why, in fact, national agencies ask for co-PIs is in case you leave that institution and go somewhere else. It's 1 year since you have initiated work, and then for whatever reasons, you get transferred to another state. Who will continue with that project? Who will be responsible for that project? So it's always good to have collaborators. Typically, multi-institutional projects go through faster. That is my experience. In my experience, where, it's not that 100% I've been successful in whatever grant I've written, it has come through. Never happens that. But yes, we've been lucky to get 80% of the grant sanction. So why? Because our collaborators are such. So if I have expertise in doing formulation, and I can collaborate with someone who is really good in doing animal experimentation, I would take them as collaborators. It could be that someone, in fact, within the institute also, I always tell people, identify your thrust area. So if, now for example, in our institute, if I want to work on neurodegenerative diseases, can Professor Ladda supply me with standardized extract? Answer is yes. Can Professor Sadhna Sathe look at its activity and tell me whether those extracts are active or not? Answer is yes. If I know that, can I formulate it by whatever route, it demands? Since we specialize in nose to brain, I'll go with nose to brain delivery. Answer is yes. After formulation, again, analysis becomes an integral part. So you have to have stability indicating assay methodologies. You have to have even bioanalytical method, not only optimization, but validation. So can I rope in Professor Chaturbhuj? Answer is yes. Now I have the formulation. It again goes back to pharmacology department for testing. And once prototype is ready, we can do stability studies. So likewise, what I'm trying to give you example is each institute can identify what would be their thrust area. Identify one thrust area. I want to work on infectious diseases. But unfortunately, ICT doesn't have class 3 facility till date. So I'm dependent on other institutes. So wherever I'm going, I've been asking people, if you can generate class 3 facility, I'll be the first one to collaborate. Now, fortunately, I'm saying we have submitted a biocluster grant. It's a huge grant, believe me, about 200 to 300 crore grant. And then this biocluster now would come IIT, ICT, TIFR, ECTREC, NIRRH, and KEM hospital. Now, can you imagine? That means anything which we work on, since hospitals are involved, it will go till clinical stage. So product rollout would be much faster. So we are hoping that we'll get now place even to generate our own class 3 animal facility. But till then, I'm still dependent. One needs to know their audience. That means know the reviewers, not by names, but keep in mind that when you're writing to DST, DBT, and all those national agencies, people who are sitting there are basic science people. Very few applied science people. And I've been on all forums telling them that involve application scientists, involve technologists like us. Now they have started. I can see now IITs, at least they have roped in, ICT, they have roped in. But we've lost that much time, right? So what would happen is projects would go to basic science people who fail to understand that some technologies get translated if people understand those basic sciences. But if basic science already exists, from there we can pick up an idea and take it to completion. So keeping in mind whose audience. Now, for example, if I talk about international grant, keep in mind they will not only involve the scientists, they involve the stakeholders. So when I write a grant for, say, National Psoriasis Foundation, they involve psoriasis patients. They involve people from NGOs. Why? Because they want to know their opinion. If I have said that I will be again making, since I've been working in lipid-based drug delivery system, I'll be making lipid-based drug delivery system for psoriasis so that actual deposition takes place in the epidermis. That is a site. And it would be available for prolonged duration of time. Now, patients are involved because they need to understand, am I giving them ointment which is messy? So you have to bring out those points clearly in the project. So I write a project, I have to mention, this is what current technology is, and this is what I propose when I come up with a formula, what conditions it will take care. So be up to date. And of course, when I say up to date, latest references have to be incorporated in your project. So you cannot write a project and give references only till 2005. Typically, people do that. Why do they do that? I'll tell you also. Many times project proposals, thesis, etc. come to you. So you're directly taking data from there. That copy and paste tendency has to go. So when you're taking data from there, obviously it's old data. Put in efforts. God has given us brain and made us different than other animals. So let's not be animal. Follow guidelines and organize your proposal very well. And we'll see each of these points, but almost all the proposals will revolve around this: title, summary, statement, literature review, narrative, personal, tenure, etc. Right? Let's see about each of them. What type of title you have to give? I gave you already an example. If you see that intravenous development and evaluation of intravenous anti-cancer drug, no good. But if you say, as I mentioned earlier, siRNA delivery using lipid nanocarriers for breast cancer, that becomes simple, original, yet catchy. It is specific too. But keep in mind that you follow character limits. Many times nowadays, everything is online, right? They will give you 100 characters. By 100 characters doesn't mean 100 words, character, each character in a word. So if I say word, W-O-R-D, it has 4 characters. So there'll be limit 100, 150. So see that you abide by that. Title itself forms a primary criteria for proposal rejection, or I would say proposal acceptance. Why? Because keywords from the title would be taken by the evaluator to judge. Coming to project summary or abstract or origin, just like research paper, I tell people that you write this abstract or summary last. But when you're writing, see that it should not be very, very long. That means it has to be succinct and specific summary again. First impression is the last impression. But typically, just like research papers come to you for evaluation, you read abstract and you read conclusion and can decide whether I want to further read or I don't want to read. Same thing evaluators will do. They'll read your summary and then decide whether they should read the full project or not read. So see that this has to be very well written, and therefore write it last. And writing it last meaning bring on all the positives, crux of whatever your proposal is into summary. And also, this summary should lay a very strong framework for the project. So at the end of summary, you should be able to convey to the evaluator what exactly you want to work on. See that you use relevant keywords. Typically, I tell people that if you read the grant proposal, pick up keywords from that grant itself. That is much easier and people can relate. So if there is a grant, now for example, there was a grant on Seabuckthorn. I had not heard of Seabuckthorn, what it was till then. So obviously, curiosity's sake, I Googled what is Seabuckthorn. It was nothing but layberry. So berries, orange color berries, which are very prevalent in cold weathers, Leh Ladakh, and most of it goes waste. Now, what those people do is they make juice and keep and drink that juice. They are very sour berries, so obviously sugar would be added. So government felt the need that there is something which is getting wasted. So what can be done out of it? Can we float proposals? So everyone who's in pharma thought of writing on, the therapy part. I thought Leh Ladakh people, you will see whenever I see pictures, it could be movies, it could be any photographs, I see that old population there is high in numbers. So they live longer. In other words, they live longer. So can these Seabuckthorn fruits be the reason for their living longer? And they do not have that many wrinkles on face as otherwise, people who are in metro cities like us. So then I looked at what does that Seabuckthorn fruit contain, looked at its active and wrote a project on cosmeceutical, which could be used as anti-aging. So Seabuckthorn has a very special fatty acid sequence. That fatty acid restores the skin elasticity. So it did a wonderful work and wrote on that. So what I'm trying to say is, keyword was Seabuckthorn there. So Seabuckthorn obviously has to form your proposal keyword too. They were open to anything, health, agriculture, genome sequencing, anything of Seabuckthorn. So obviously I'm going to look at health. So I'll pick up health. So likewise, pick up keywords from the proposal brief itself. So problem statement should very clearly define what is the purpose, what are the research goals and objectives. I've already told you, don't give more than 3 objectives at all. Try and get 1 objective solved per year. It could be a broader objective though. So when I'm saying, say, formulation of nanostructured lipid carriers of Seabuckthorn, it's so much. That formulation will have pre-formulation screening. It will have analytical method establishment. then I'm going to make microemulsion by pseudoternary. I'm going to make NLCs of that. I'm going to apply DOE to do that formulation. So that is objective first, right? So that's sufficient for 1 year. So likewise, write your goals very well. Be very careful about what background you are giving. That also would be rechecked. Give convincing rationale. Very important is give convincing rationale and highlight novelty. Many people do all this but they are forgetting to highlight novelty. Now, many times we take help of our research students, right, to write projects. Many times people do that, but they really do not know how to highlight novelty. So it is you, because you have got that idea. So only you can bring in that novelty. And when will you get that novelty? When you know what is available in the market and you've understood where are the gaps. So if you understood where are the gaps, you are wanting to tackle those gaps, and that is your novelty. So like taking same example of Seabuckthorn, there was not a single nano-based product in market. There was not a single product actually in the market, cosmetic market in India. But luckily, I happened to travel abroad during that time. And on airport, we typically spend time doing window shopping, even if we don't buy anything. So I have that habit. I don't know why, but I go to any pharmacy or any shop and start looking at the labels. Maybe because pharmaceutics teachers are very fond of looking at labels. So I picked up few products, and Seabuckthorn products did exist. That means I'm exporting all my wealth to European countries. They know what is the potential. They are formulating and pumping in that product again back to India at much higher cost. So why can't I do? But it was not a nano product, so I was safe. So I knew there are products in market, not in India, but abroad. Those products, what potential issues could be there, I knew very well from literature. Seabuckthorn, is UV sensitive. That means over a period of time, it's orange color berry, so it gives you pink color product. Over a time, that pink color would turn to white. So you can think that, right, ahead. So that has to be your vision. So what I said is, I would encapsulate it in nanostructured lipid carriers and therefore protect it from UV rays. Now imagine that cosmetic product has to be applied and you are going everywhere, right? So obviously this became a very important novelty point in our case, and it fetched us a good sum of money. I think at that time it was about 40 plus lakhs. I don't know, 15 years back. So you need to do literature survey. As I said, cover a span of at least last 5 years. Don't leave anything which is there in last 5 years. Include both national and international data. Be very selective, be very critical. See that you follow a consistent reference writing style. Nowadays, you have softwares. You have so many softwares for doing EndNote, Mendeley's. So use them. So don't write haywire references. I've seen some projects have come to me for evaluation from Indian researchers. They are not paying attention. So that puts you off. So reviewers might want to know whether you have done any preliminary research. So I actually advocate that if you have some idea, do some preliminary research. Whatever minuscule level you can do it, and then show that yes, this particular project has potential to be taken forward. That helps. Now what I have done is I've taken example of SERB grant, high risk, high reward scheme. And I urge all of you to go through this grant. Why? Because this grant exactly tells you what evaluators expect. So what you see in gray brackets, what I have written here, origin of proposal, scientific rationale for doing this work should be elaborated. So what they expect? Give rationale. They want you to give risk elements and rewards. That means this is high risk, high reward. With something like what I've written now for COVID vaccine and got it approved, right? I've said that I will give vaccine through nasal route. Now it's high risk. It might work. That proposal might work. It might not work. But if it works, it will give high reward. And that high reward is not in terms of money. It is that I'm going to really be helping mankind, isn't it? So keeping that in mind, you understand what are the risk elements if I give by nose, by nasal delivery, what could be the elements of risk I should know well. And then I should be able to say, if it works, what rewards it is going to bring in. So likewise, each and every point has been given very well in this high risk, high reward grant. Coming to work plan, again, work plan is, at least in India, I have seen that people give it actually very detailed methodology. That is expected because this will be one section where generally there is no limit on characters. There could be limit on pages. There could be 3 pages, 5 pages, depending on which agency, but no limit on characters. That means you can actually make flow charts, very good flow charts, wherein you can show which part of the work, which particular PI will do, and what would be the flow. How, as I said, no, from Ladda, it goes to Sadhana Sathe. From Sadhana Sathe, it comes to me. From me, it could go back to Sadhana Sathe. If required, it may go back again to Ladda. So that flow chart, if you prepare, you don't have to write 2 paragraphs saying what would be my flow of activities. Same way, international authorities expect you to actually elaborate more on methodology than anything else. And you should be able to justify what experience PIs and co-PIs have. So moving ahead again, same grant I have taken, and these slides would be available. So I'm not spending much time. Methodology should contain details of how each of objectives will be addressed. Section must be detailed, should give clear plans, should not be vague, not be generalized, should have several schemes, tables, figures, everything, right? So please go through this after my lecture, and then they will ask you about what expertise you have, what facilities you have publications in this area or not. And it's very important that if you are selecting some collaborators, see that those collaborators have publications in the specific area in which you want to work, or at least in the related area. As far as personnel or man-force is concerned, I've already told you number of personnel to be decided depending on project duration as well as how much that project demands. So don't be unrational in this. It will not come through. So budget would govern. You need to discuss with the personnel whom you are appointing right in the beginning as to what is expected of those people. Now, for example, in COVID times, when I appointed someone on vaccine grant, there's often on lockdown, right, in Maharashtra. So I had to tell them that you will have to take special permission from Vice Chancellor to be there on campus every day, irrespective of whether there is lockdown or no lockdown. That means if need arises, stay in hostel. So this has to be made clear. Otherwise, how are you going to progress? And believe me, authorities are taking our interviews. I would say interviews there's a big panel. Last week, I defended them. Every 3 months, they are asking us question as to what has happened. Are you within timelines or not? So we need to satisfy them by all means. So do tenure and budget justification. Again, I told you, let that not be unbalanced again. You know what are your milestones. You know what work you're going to do. Accordingly, frame a budget. And budget can include, I would recommend that PI and co-PI bifurcation you give right in the beginning, so that everyone knows what amount of money they will get. And even when the authorities are sanctioning that, they will give you separate. Because if they have given you, say, 18 lakhs, and it is up to the PI may not give even 3 lakhs to co-PI. So right in the beginning, be very clear as to what would be your share. And that share would, of course, be defined by what activities you are going to undertake. So ensure feasibility. See that you are reflecting coordination of activities. Always keep buffer time. Let budget be appropriate and necessary to execute the project. This is another thing which I tell you. Nowadays, people are asking for quote of whatever equipment, instrument you are asking in advance. They're telling you to upload that. So be ready with it. Also, justify application of resources. They will also ask you what facilities you have. So obviously, any institute which is doing the research has to have basic facilities like workshop, telecommunication, animal guest house, and so on and so forth. Which equipments are available? They would ask for equipments which are available in institute, in group, in other institutes with whom you are collaborating. So obviously duplication will be avoided. But if you can justify, now for example, my institute, within my lab, I have 3 HPLCs. But on those 3 HPLCs, 20 students are working. So if I can justify that there is need for HPLC, because one student is getting chance once in a week or maybe once in 10 days, obviously they'll give you. Okay, you need to justify though. See that you write the expected outcome very well. Expected outcome could be development of holistic scientists also. Okay, it's not that I'll give 2 papers, 1 patent, whatever. That is there. But it could be much more than that. And as I said, could be development of holistic scientists as outcome, because you are making them interact with so many different groups. You are giving them training to better their communication skills. You're getting them training to develop their cognitive skills. So if that is the case, that also could be one of the outcomes. See that your outcome justifies the project rationale. That means at the end of this particular duration, if I'm writing now, I've written nasal vaccine for COVID, right? Will I be able to deliver? So what I'll be able to deliver? Cost-effective, scalable nano vaccine to be given by nasal route for COVID treatment. So that is my expected outcome. Enlist relevant endpoints and always reflect on completeness. It's not that you've written and that's the end. Many times I have to reread, hibernate on that for some time and then submit. So few tips: read all the call for proposals carefully. Contact, if need arises, program coordinator. If you have any doubts, they give their numbers, So please call them and ask whether you are eligible to apply, whether the category which you are thinking is okay or not. Plan your writing and compilation well ahead of deadline. So rather, as I said, we keep the projects ready. So as and when deadlines are there, we are ready anyways. Check the funding agency website for timely updates. For online submissions, register immediately. In fact, we register, we fill in dummy information. Why? Because many times we've seen they've provided us a PDF of list of documents which are necessary. But when we actually start filling our details, they ask for more and more. So how will you know what more? And if you sit till the last date, you will get into depression. So it's better to fill in dummy information and see what comes next. Don't do final submit, don't press submit button. Rest all you can do. Use all the search engines. Perform thorough grammar and spell check. This can put off the evaluators. Very, very clearly, I'm telling you, if you have not written a project which is correct in grammar, we don't feel like reading it. Now, coming to types of grant, I've already told you about research grants, but nowadays there are grants for infrastructure. There are grants for centers of excellence. So like now ICT has sufficient infrastructure, have sufficient research grants. We have written 12 center of excellence proposals, 12 in this COVID time. So I'm sure one by one all will come, and now that we have space in other campuses, they would be executed too. So there would be funding at all the levels which can come. I'll give you some case studies and then probably wind up in 2 to 3 minutes. So this is case study number 1, which I told you about foot and mouth disease, where we wrote about nose to nose delivery, nano vaccine delivery. It is a multi-institutional project. Keep in mind always that plagiarism is one thing which also would be checked in proposals. So your proposal has to be written and rechecked by you. Honesty, integrity is most important, and that's the least what we can expect from teachers. So pay attention to the details. Follow all the steps which are given very, very diligently, and use a template which has been given by them. So they'll give you how to apply online. Step by step, they'll give you. So use their template. And obviously, as I said, they'll tell you what documents are required, but unless you start filling the dummy information, you would not know. So depending on this, then the pre-submission file gets ready. And this was our project. You can see from the project, you can make out that we'll be making a nano carrier-based normal foot and mouth disease virus vaccine for non-parenteral delivery. So reading this itself, experts will know right now whatever is available in market is parenteral delivery. So what is a novelty? I'm coming up with non-parenteral delivery. And I'm using nano. And that also, I have given as proof of concept what particular nano and why I'll be using lipid-based nano delivery here. So we did get approval letter. And in fact, it is not that once your approval letter comes, it's, time for celebration. Many times they ask you for additional documents. See the limit, I put it in bold. They say within 20 days, submit all this. So any number of details may be asked from you, from your institute, from your collaborators, and you need to be ready to submit that. So strictly within 20 days. So that came through. Case study number 2 is Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, wherein we are tackling global challenges. So what was the opportunity? Opportunity for us in this case was One Health concept. Believe me, and I'm really transparent about this. When I read One Health, I again checked whether my understanding of One Health was correct. One Health is something which can be used for animals as well as human beings. So we did look at which diseases come under this, looked at brucellosis as a disease where we could contribute, and wrote a project. While writing a project, we had to give a very crisp rationale. As I told you, we need to be very, very specific. They encourage collaboration too. So we collaborated with, again, Mumbai Veterinary Institute, because it's a zoonotic disease. Outcome was, yes, we did get grant sanction for nano vaccine for brucellosis using green technology. So what was our new thing? We'll be using green technology, which is supercritical technology to develop particulate. We'll be putting it in nano form, but it's easily scalable. And whatever I'll be using can be given by nasal route, avoid cold chain transport. So it would be useful for animals as well as human beings. Believe me, this disease, if it strikes animals, they have to be killed. And if it affects human beings, it produces almost like paralytic condition. So unmet need definitely existed. All this I've talked about is pre-award, but post-award, anything has to be done? Yes, it has to be done. You need to look at how will you distribute the finances, whose duty it would be for making the report, submitting utilization certificate, how the project completion reports would be submitted. So I think I've given you a complete spectrum by this, and I'm within time. I would fail in my duty if I'll not tell you that when I started in 1991, I started a seed money grant from Udicity Alumni Association, which was 10,000 rupees. So I could buy only a stirrer and a beaker. And now, if you look at our lab, within the lab, I've told you, we have 3 HPLCs. I have a Zeta sizer, I have a ultracentrifuge, I have anything and everything you would want to use. We have also built through Bill and Melinda Gates cell culture lab of our own, which you cannot see because it's on the other side of it. Entry is through the lab, but restricted entry. So almost everything, be it type 1, type 2, type 3, type 4 dissolution apparatuses, permeation assemblies, rotavap, spray dryer, freeze dryer, you name it, and we have it within our own lab. Leave apart, of course, institutional facilities are additional. So net result of this has been that yes, we have developed and in fact done a lot of technology transfers, not only in drug delivery, cosmetics, but also in devices. In fact, this vaccine is now in phase 3. So we work with this particular motto, which in a nutshell says focus, focus, and focus. So if you do that, success is definitely going to be yours. So with that, I'd like to thank once again the organizing committee for giving me this opportunity and sharing, what type of strategic planning be done to write the project and then to execute the same. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Now the session is open for question and answer.
I can see one question in the chat box.
Yes, ma'am. Just a minute.
So my question is that we are working in a new institute with very few resources and infrastructure. So what would be possible authorities from where we get the grant? So that means you are a beginner. So obviously, first thing which will tell you would be your university itself. University gives you grant, which is a seed money. So typically you get about 25,000 till, depending on the university, even 10 lakhs. Some universities in Gujarat, I must appreciate, they are doing a wonderful job. And they promote youngsters by giving seed money. But if not that, government authorities, I'll tell you, BRNS is one such thing, which I mentioned. If you identify a partner from BARC or BRC affiliated institutes, you can write a project with them. It could be just gamma irradiation of a herbal moiety if you are a cognosis. It could be formulation development where you're using gamma sterilization as a end step. For analytical people, it could be making, say, RIA kit. It could be anything. It could be, for chemistry people, it could be, say, radiation-based polymerization. You need to just, let this mind ideate. So sky is also not the limit, I say. So you can write with these institutes. They do promote. And another thing is, I've seen that DBT is one such place, because I've been on the other side. I've seen that they do not differentiate between private and government universities. If your idea is good, definitely you would be able to get the grant.
Yes, ma'am. One more question in chat box also. We are working in new institute with a very few resources and infrastructure. So what will be the possible authorities from where we get the grant?
I think that's the same question repeated.
Yes. One more is there. What are the assessment criteria from project finding application? This question raised by Dr. L.D. Patel.
First of all, my pranam to Dr. Patel. Again, for being a participant. I really appreciate. I have seen him at many forums and really very actively interacting. So yes, Dr. Patel, I'm sure you asked this question for youngsters. So what are the assessment criteria? So typically when a project comes to us for evaluation, first criteria they ask is novelty. Second criteria they ask is whether the budgeting has been done correctly. And the third criteria they ask is whether the PI and co-PI have enough experience. So most of the times your project would get evaluated on these major criteria. There could be ancillary criteria. Like for example, many times they would tell you to do plagiarism check. So what they do is they make a table and send you of the criteria, and then what would be your grade point average from 1 to 10. It is 10 being maximum, 1 being lowest. And believe me that those particular projects which are 50 to 60 points are not granted. So it's only when your project goes above 80 points in all those criteria is that it gets a green chit. Those which are in 70 to 80% are kept as backup option. So it's a very systematic way that our government is evaluating projects. And it is not that, many times you would have seen that in the project itself, you have to give name of potential reviewers, just like papers. So you are giving some names. It's not that they will send the project only to those evaluators. They'll send to additional evaluators too. So it is not one person's opinion which is taken. They'll take a grade point average. So at least they should get 3 reviewers assessment, and they will discuss. After this, there's a discussion. It's not that you've given your points and they've taken an average and taken their decision. No. Many projects, they call for a meeting. Wherever they see there's a huge gap, for example, I've given only 40 marks and there's someone who's giving 80 marks. There's a huge gap. So they would like to understand why that huge gap. What was in that person's mind because of which 80 has been given, and what was in this person's mind who is given only 40. So then they try and take decisions at a next level. So, but major criteria is being, just like patent has a criteria of novelty, non-obviousness, and industrial applicability, in pharma, same 3 things really are true even for projects.
Okay, ma'am. Next question raised by Nilesh Mahajan. What if the idea is innovative, but the publication are not in that domain?
If I understand it correctly, Dr. Mahajan, again, thanks for attending. Again, an established researcher asking me this question. What if the idea is innovative, but publications are not, meaning your publications are not there in that domain, right?
Yes.
Can you clarify?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
So if you do
Hello,
not have... Yes, sir, you are audible.
Yes. What I would like to ask, sometime it does happen that the idea is innovative, but my publications are not in that domain. So what will be the alternative or options?
So generally what I suggest in such cases is involve collaborators. So if collaborators are in that particular area, now for example, you also, I know, is working majorly in formulation, right? But if you're working on neurodegenerative diseases, and if you have collaborators who have been working in neurodegenerative diseases, so related areas also, if you have applications, that is okay. Now, if your idea is absolutely innovative and you don't see any collaborator also having those, then you should have a very convincing ability to justify your work in writing. That means when you're writing the project, that this is first in world kind of project. So for that, you have to be pragmatic and write that very clearly, that there's nothing which exists. Obviously, now, for example, I told you about, gave you example, right, of foot and mouth disease. Now, I had not worked on foot and mouth disease, but I have worked on nanocarriers. So if I can say that I have sufficient experience in generating nanocarriers, that is my plus point. So they know that applications could be any, but I have the basic know-how. So that way you need to accentuate. So for example, I know that you've written a wonderful project wherein you are making a mask, right, which is for COVID. Novel idea. You have not worked in textiles, and this is the first time you will be probably doing this kind of a work, but still your grant got sanctioned, isn't it? So that means you are able to write very correctly, very lucidly, right to the point that yes, here is something which is going to benefit masses. And let me tell you, if granting authorities see that you have something to offer which can benefit masses, it is sure to come. So I hope I've answered your question.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am. One more question raised by Manoj Kumar. Are there specific grants for organizations working in the digitalization or development of web portals?
Nowadays, in fact, there are many grants which have come because you know that AI as a field is really gaining importance, machine learning and artificial intelligence. So obviously, you can write. So all these grants, let me tell you, even DBT for that matter and DST for that matter, would support such kind of ventures also. So you can create databases, you can develop web portals, you can work in the area of digitization and write to them. So they are supportive, provided you tell where there is an unmet need. Why did you think of web portal? Now, for example, apps we are making, right? Nowadays, you would have heard that there are apps which can monitor your blood pressure, they can monitor your ECG and whatnot, so that it becomes easy for the physician to, you can send the data on mobile itself and they can give you telemedicines. So such apps are getting recognition. So obviously, to develop app again, you need some know-how and some money. So these people are quite open to it. So any of the grants which I have mentioned should be able to support, though in particular, right now I do not have answer for this. In particular, is there anything specific which can focus only on these? If I get, definitely I'll come back to you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Any other participant want to ask? Please unmute yourself and you can ask. Yes. Okay. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your informative address. Ma'am has focuses on very valuable information to the researchers who are seeking for applying the grants from national funding agencies such as DBT, ICAR, DRDO, as well as the international funding agencies, and also how to be specific and focused while writing the proposal for research. I surely say that your elaborative talk inspire all the teachers and researchers to go for national as well as international grants. So I now kindly request Dr. Vandana Patawale ma'am to accept a virtual bouquet on the behalf of convener Dr. P.D. Chaudhary, Principal, Progressive Education Societies, Modern College of Pharmacy, Nigdi, and Coordinator Dr. Bhushan Pimpe, Progressive Education Societies, Modern College of Pharmacy, Nigdi, as a token of gratitude.
Thank you so much. My pleasure.
I also request ma'am to accept virtual certificate as a token of appreciation.
Thanks. Thank you so much. Thanks to Dr. P.D. Chaudhary, as well as Dr. Pimpley once again, and as well as to the anchor. Thank you so much for summarizing.
It means a lot to me. Thank you, ma'am.